Third down and 20.
Speaking of buys and sells, let's just jump into our mid-season buys plus sells. We're going to toss out a few names every week. Whether they're buy highs, buy lows, sell highs, sell lows, we'll tell you what we think. I guess I'll just kick us off right here. Dalvin Cook, I have him as a sell low. I know he just missed the past 2 weeks. I was looking at keep trade cut, which we discussed earlier, doesn't necessarily reflect the true changes of how people feel. But according to Keep Trade Cut, he's dropped about 1,000 points in value since September 21st, which was about 3 weeks ago. To me, I think he's the perfect time to sell Dalvin Cook, especially if you don't think your team's a competing team. You can still easily get first plus value for him. You could get multiple firsts for him, likely. You could pivot into a younger running back that I might like. And I just think, like Dalvin Cook probably bounces back this year, but I don't know what he's going to be like next year. I don't think he's going to be that good. This might be me confirming my priors, but I was commenting in the Dynasty rep before. Like, I think he's going to be one of the guys that definitely drops a lot in value after the season or throughout the course of the season. So Dalvin Cook is someone that you can easily pivot to still very good young prospects or even good like older prospects, like maybe a quarterback. Like maybe you want to move into I don't know what the difference is from Dalvin Cook to Russell Wilson, but I think Russell Wilson's still giving you 6 years. That might be a stretch, but I know Russell Wilson will still be good for 3 years. I don't know what Dalvin Cook will be, and I think Dalvin Cook is still valued higher than Russell Wilson. So take that.
I agree with you, JT. I didn't feel as strong as you, and I do have Dalvin Cook in a league, but I'm going to keep him. The thing is, though, is that if you're worried about Dalvin Cook, which it sounds like you would be, you can still trade him for really flashy assets, way more liquid assets. And at the end of the day, I still feel like Dalvin Cook to me is not one of these top 5 running backs in terms of talent. I think he's a great player. Don't get me wrong. I like Dalvin Cook coming out. But I do not think he's on that level of Nick Chubb. I do not think he's on that level of Christian McCaffrey. And I do not think he's on that level of even a Jonathan Taylor to a certain extent. I think he's in a really good system. I think he's developed very well, and he has a play style that could suit him for down the road. So I'm going to personally hold him in the league that I have him. But I do agree, especially coming into the season, and if you can get a top 5 price for him now, he's way more of a sell than a buy.
All right. Lounis, who you got for any buy highs, sell lows?
I got 2 buys. I don't know whether they're buy highs or buy lows because you guys gave me 2 different answers. I love Chase Claypool. Claypool is someone, the season Mike Williams is having right now. I think Claypool is capable of that like multiple years in a row. I think he's that talented of a receiver. I think he's someone who his deep threat ability hasn't been able to get fully utilized this year. We see Ben maybe throw 1 or 2 deep balls a game, and listen, I'm not putting that totally on Ben. Obviously, his arm isn't what it used to be, but that's also in part because of the O-line not like giving him a whole ton of time to be able to sit in the pocket and let those deep routes develop. I think that's something that's not going to stay permanent. And he's like, for an example, he's someone I like Claypool more than like a T. Higgins, even though T. Higgins is consensus probably valued higher. Claypool is someone who it's not really buying low because people still like him a lot, but he's just someone who I think's value is higher than what is generally viewed as right now. I just find him to be an insanely talented receiver. And the next guy is Ruggs. Now, this depends on the price. For what I've seen, he hasn't really getting still much hype, even though he's been improved this year. You could still probably get him for like a decent second, especially if an owner's just trying to, like, after a couple weeks, get rid of him. But I mean, after 5 weeks, he's the leader in the Raiders in receiving yards. And that's there have been 4 or 5 plays this year where Derek Carr has just missed him by a yard or 2 deep. And I think those will start to connect. I think Ruggs, you're kind of going to see not to the extent that Hollywood Brown has done this year, where it's like a top 10 receiver, but like just kind of that gradual progression over the years. And I think he's improved a lot of receiver. And for someone, if I can get him at like a 204 or 203 price for the 2022 draft, I would do that. He's on pace to have around 1,100 yards this season. Does that keep up? I don't know. I probably expect him to finish around 900-ish, 950. But he's someone, if you can still get cheap, that I like a lot.
All right. So with Claypool, like I still value T. Higgins more than Claypool, but I do think he's ranked around like a Mike Williams who has jumped him recently. I think that shouldn't be the case.
Yeah. He can flip Mike Williams for Claypool, dude. Do it.
Yeah. That I do. With Henry Ruggs, I'm kind of like a Henry Ruggs hater. I just don't love him a whole lot. But I mean, the guys he's ranked around, I don't hate his value in terms of like Darnell Mooney's right there, Tyler Boyd, Terrace Marshall, Elijah Moore, Laviska Shenault. Like, there's some guys I really like more than Henry Ruggs around there, but there's some guys I definitely do not like as much as Henry Ruggs. So it could potentially be a good buy if I could flip the right players. Like, specifically, like you flip a Darnell Mooney for a Ruggs. I think that's a very good move.
Yeah, I'd agree.
All right, Frank.
Do you also consider Claypool a buy?
Has his price gone down or up since the beginning of the season?
Probably definitely down. I think it was around. I could do the official check for you. Beginning
That's
of the
what
season,
I'm saying is a buy.
Beginning of the season, we'll call, I don't know, September 3rd. I don't know when the actual beginning of the season was, September 6th. He was at like 5,200 now. Okay, he's gone down like marginally. Looking at it, especially he was ranked around wide receiver 18. 18 was kind of his peak. Right now he's like wide receiver 22.
I think that's about fair for him, to be honest. We're definitely going to see an uptick in volume and whatnot now that Juju is gone. I think we honestly get a little preview of what we can kind of expect the Steelers' offense to be in the future without Juju, I'm expecting. So that'll be a little bit interesting. I like Chase Claypool as a buy. I don't think he's a screaming buy, and I think that you have to be a little bit calculated in how you do it. To me, the way I would want to move into him is if we kind of did we were talking about last episode, where if I'm going from a DJ Moore or a CD Lamb trying to, go down and pick up probably draft capital, maybe like you get a first Chase Claypool, something like that. I don't really know. You'd want to make the trade even to whatever it should be. Yeah. But that's how I'd want to do it necessarily than going out and just buying Chase Claypool.
Yeah, I mean, who knows if this gets accepted in your league or not. But Chase Claypool, sorry, I put that on the wrong side. But let's say like CD Lamb for Chase Claypool and 2023 mid-first. I mean, according to Keep Trade Cut, that's pretty fair.
I mean, dude, I think that there will be people that will be willing to shell out more for CeeDee Lamb. Maybe not right now, but you wait for him to have. Dude, the Cowboys' offense has been a really positive game strip. CeeDee Lamb is still a really good player. He's going to have weeks where he pops off. It just hasn't happened recently. And then that offense hasn't really needed to show anything. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. That's how I would do it necessarily. Then it's almost like Keenan Allen, right? Where Keenan Allen's probably a really good player to trade into, but generally speaking, you're going to have to give up a lot more than you're kind of comfortable giving up in terms of draft capital, because you can say, "Oh, I'll give a contender first for Keenan Allen," but a lot of the times that might not be accepted because a lot of people like me really like Keenan Allen. I'm going to go with some buys that I have listed. I'm just going to kind of shoot some names out, guys that I'm somewhat interested in. I just checked the price tag on. Dyami Brown won just because he's one of these rookies that hasn't really shown a ton of flashes. He had some hype coming into the beginning of the season. That hype has since died down. It seems like he's battled a little bit of injury. The whole Washington football team offense really hasn't been able to find its groove to a certain extent. It's been really kind of janky.
The number 2 receiver just keeps on getting hurt. Curtis Samuel got re-injured his groin. Dyami Brown got hurt.
So I don't necessarily expect Dyami Brown to be acquired in a lot of leagues at a great price. But if there's any sort of, I could pick him up for a second, I'd do it. I'd gladly do it. Like, if you could pay almost the price that he was to be drafted at, I would love to do that, especially right now, just because once Diami Brown gets back healthy and we get to the second half of the season, that's when I expect him to actually start putting up numbers when he's a little bit more acclimated. Another guy that I think could be really interesting is Will Fuller. I hate the Dolphins' offense. And I'm really not looking to necessarily get more shares into it. But at the end of the day, there's a certain level where you have a level of talent that doesn't match the price. And to me, Will Fuller might be one of those where you have a guy that's really good. He's just so damn inconsistent, but that's just so priced in that you might be able to get a guy that puts up wide receiver 1, low-end wide receiver 1 numbers when he's back and when 2 is back that you can get at a really favorable price tag. A price tag that's probably outside of the top 30 receivers easily. So
he's currently ranked as wide receiver 73 on Keep Trade Cut.
Like, that's absurd.
I did not know that.
So, like, there comes a point where it's like, I could just get a player that's really talented for dirt cheap.
He's literally ranked around Jamison Crowder, Mike Davis, Quintez Cephas, Ronald
Jesus Christ.
So, I think especially if you, like, you know, we're talking about how redraft and dynasty are really weaving their way together. Like, this is one of those scenarios where, dude, if you're in a newer dynasty league, especially, I think you could definitely get a panic sell deal on a Will Fuller.
I'm with you.
I didn't know he was that low. I mean, I don't think you can get him for that low of a price, but even slightly higher, I still think is a solid buy. Jeez, that's a low.
But dude, fuck, like, you might be able to, in some leagues, maneuver your way from going from like a Mike Davis into a Will Fuller. I know Mike Davis gets a lot of hate, so that might not be the best example. I think you just mentioned him, though, and that he's...
Yeah, he was one of those guys.
The thing with Mike Davis, though, that the one positive is that if you offer him out in this deal, you're going to look at his game stats and be like, oh, well, he's put up almost 10 points a game. And you look at Will Fuller's and you're like, well, he hasn't done squat, so maybe that can happen.
He's put up 6 points total. Yeah. All right. Anything else you got for us, Frank?
I got a couple of sells. I'm going to go with one. This is a guy that I liked a lot coming into the season, but he's getting a lot of hype, and the hype is continuing. It's Jacoby Myers. I like Jacoby Myers. I thought he was a really good player to invest in with a late second-round pick in the offseason, but it's gotten to the point where, dude, you could get more than a second for him, or like a really good second for him. And at that price, I am more than willing to move off of him if done correctly, just to get into a more stable asset. I think that the Patriots are still a team that needs receivers, and come next offseason, another season from now, I really don't see a world where Jacoby Myers is like the leading guy in targets and receiving yards for any team in the league. So fact of the matter is that I think this is a really good sell high opportunity on Jacoby Myers.
Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree. It's just crazy that he still has yet to score a touchdown.
Since college.
He's had passing touchdowns. He's yet to catch a touchdown. Yeah, nuts. But yeah, I agree, Frank. It did get a little crazy. We talked about this before in prior times, but I said a long time ago, mid-seconds right around where I value him, and I kind of stick to around there. Maybe I'd push it back a little bit to mid to late second. But yeah, I mean, we got to the point where he was worth an early second, a second plus, and that's just too high for me, I think. Anyone else you got, Frank?
You'd have to test the waters with him. It's just, I have Myers in a league. I'm going to start to offer him out. I would advise others to do the same.